The last time we talked, Andy, you and I were playing, was it George Lucas and Steven Spielberg?
That's right.
Was that right?
That's right.
Yeah, for a what is that? A reading of the notes.
It's like a marathon-length reading of the notes for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So now we're putting this out into the world that Mike has to get this out there, because otherwise people are going to be like, what is this thing you're talking about? I assume it's coming out with Raiders, not Raiders, but whatever the
new indie.
Dial of Destiny. Yeah, Jesus H. Christ. But that was the last time we did an episode together, but we've never done an episode of anything together.
That's right.
Frankly. And on this episode of the Kulturecast, I am still your host, Chris Stachiw, much to the chagrin of many, and I'm joined by my good friend. He is an author. He has written several books. You have heard him on the projection booth before.
I was just thinking somebody's going to wander in here and they're going to listen and they're going to go, holy fuck, that's Steven Spielberg and George Lucas doing this. Right. Anybody ever hears the other one first. So.
Right. But yeah, author Andrew J. Rausch.
That's right.
So Andrew, tell me, or my audience, tell my audience a little bit about you as an author, what you've written, what people should be checking out if they haven't, where they can find said things before we talk about Fear and Loathing, because you're an author as well, just like our dear friend Raoul Duke.
That's right. So I've written a lot of novels, a lot of nonfiction, actually 50 plus books, which sounds crazy, but it's true. Been writing about films since the 90s. I've done several books on Tarantino, one with his help, which was great. I did a book on Scorsese and De Niro. My next book is on Watermelon Man. So, I mean, you name it, I'll write about it if it's film. So.
I don't even know what Watermelon Man is. So
most people don't. It's a Melvin Van Peebles movie. Okay. It's his one Hollywood movie. And I was hired to do it. I really wasn't familiar with it, but because an interview I had done with Melvin Van Peebles is in the liner notes for Watermelon Man, they thought I was obviously an expert. So I am now, but I wasn't at the time.
I like that part. I am now.
That's right. But it's hard to write a book about a thing. And if you walk away from the book and you're not an expert, then you've probably fucked up somewhere.
Well, and then they're real disappointed in you, right? They're like, "What are you? Why are you even here again? I don't understand."
That's right.
What was the point of your job, sir? So no, I'm
That's
super excited.
That's what my wife says. Why are you here? Who are you?
Right.
Wife number 4.
Wow. Jeez.
Right.
That's it. That's the author lifestyle right there. That's
right. I've got her legs tied down to the, so she's not going anywhere.
Let's talk a little bit about Hunter S. Thompson before we talk about the movie, because I want to know, because again, I think it's important before we talk about the movie and the book, we talk a little bit about Hunter S. Thompson, because I'm sure we both have a different way we approached him or were introduced to him. So I want to know from you, how were you introduced to the Doctor of Gonzo journalism himself, Hunter S. Thompson?
I was actually introduced through the film, and then I started reading his work, and it's very up and down, but when he's at his best, like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, he's brilliant. His voice is brilliant, and for me, this movie is about his voice. And when he was hitting on all cylinders, I think he was amazing. But, I think he had a period there in right around this time in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, where he really did his best work. And then it was very sporadic after that.
Well, I think that this is, to cop from Thompson himself, this might be his own high watermark unintentionally. Right. Whether he knows it or not, I think is, we'll get into that. But right. For me, it was the same way. I was introduced to Hunter S. Thompson through... I had heard about the movie and I watched it when I was 16, didn't understand it at all. But I went down the path of, let's look into Hunter S. Thompson and
do a lot of drugs, and then you understood it.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, the whole drug thing, like, I want to ask you, because again, it's part and parcel to this drug culture. You are fan of drug culture. Get me away. I mean, again, we're both in the creative field here, so our opinions on the world of illicit drug use may vary. But I'm a user of certain things, but I don't.
Right.
I'm not the person like they are in this. So
right. I'm bipolar, and I have a lot of the same demons as a lot of writers do. And with bipolar, I wasn't medicated until I was about 31. And so I went down the same paths that a lot of unmedicated bipolar people go. And, that's sex and drugs and, because you're trying to self-medicate.
Right.
But I have to say that most of the stuff they do in this book and in this movie, I have not done. So
you're not walking around smoking or sniffing ether rags.
No. but
God.
But it's fascinating. I feel like, you know what? Before we really get into the movie, I gotta say, and I've always felt this way, I feel the same way when I watch Platoon. And this is gonna sound funny, but I mean, when I watch Platoon, see, I wasn't in Vietnam, but I watch Platoon and I think this has to be what it feels like to be in Vietnam. And when I watch and read Hunter S. Thompson, I think this is what it probably sounds or feels like to be high on an ether binge, as he says, or mescaline or any of these things. I feel like, and if not, he's created his own image of, he's created it for us. So
right.
Either he's lied to us who have not used these drugs, or he's done a hell of a job recreating it for us.
Reading his book, and then earlier this year, reading some William S. Burroughs. Right. I agree, because Burroughs is the same way, where you read it and it's like, I've never done heroin and I'm never going to, but man, here you go. Like this is as close to using heroin as I want to get. And like you said, I don't know, I don't want to try it, but I believe you that this is the experiences that you're having, or this is what it evokes in you. So, but so on this episode of the Kulturecast, let's get into Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Universal Pictures invites you to come to Las Vegas, where the people are friendly.
You can't park your car here.
There's not a reasonable place to park.
Well, you're on a sidewalk. It's a sidewalk.
The rooms are comfortable, and the atmosphere is out of this world. Johnny Depp, Benicio del Toro, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Get out of here.
Rated R. Starts Friday, May 22nd at theaters everywhere.
So the film is directed by the one and only Terry Gilliam. It was released in 1998, and it stars Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro as Raoul Duke and Dr. Gonzo, and they're on a trip from hell through Las Vegas, where we find out all about, well, the American dream, the shitty thing we call capitalism, and, like Andy already mentioned, drug use. So, Andy, kick us off with this episode on Fear and Loathing. Tell me a little bit about your feelings on the movie the first time you saw it, and what you thought rewatching it for this episode.
So the first time I watched the movie, and I didn't see it in the theater, I saw it on video right after it came out, and I kind of didn't know what to make out of it. And I think that's the right reaction the first time you watch it. And like I said, I hadn't read him, didn't know anything about Hunter S. Thompson. I think I may have seen Where the Buffalo Roam, but at some point I did watch it, which is a less good kind of version of Hunter S. Thompson's life, even though it's got Bill Murray in it. You think
say Bill Murray and Peter Boyle,
Boyle. But, when I walked away from this, I didn't really know what I thought. I knew there were some amazing visuals. I knew there was a lot of crazy shit going on. But over time, I watched it again. And then I read the book. I've probably read the book more times than I've seen the movie. I think I've read the book 3 or 4 times. And again, for me, it's the voice. I love that voice. The first person wading through this crazy world voice. And you end up with these great lines. So many of the great lines are directly in the movie. All of these things like, and I wrote this one down. There's nothing in the world more helpless and irresponsible and depraved than a man in the depths of an ether binge. I love these lines, so I don't know. In the beginning, I didn't know what the fuck to make out of it, but now I love it. And I will say this. I talked about being married 4 times. I've been in a lot of relationships since this movie came out, and I think I've tried to show it to just about every one of the women along the way, and none of them have liked it.
I mean, I feel like there is a reason for that. I think the movie, and again, the source material text, and I'm like yourself. I saw the movie first, read the book second. I've read the book, I think I've read it at least 3 or 4 times now, and I was rereading it today, or at least, I got 2/3 of the way through it, just listening to it, because it's a quick read. It's a 6-hour listen. It's like 200 something pages, 204. So it's an easy read. It's easy to get through. Again, if you can deal with, like you've mentioned, first person diatribes about tripping on ether, mescaline, fucking adrenochrome at one point. If you can stomach all of that, it's a pretty easy read, because it's all told in first person from his perspective of, again, a fictionalized version of Hunter S. Thompson. But I think for me, the movie and the book serve 2 purposes. The movie is an amazing adaptation of a book that I don't understand why anyone thought was a adaptable book.
Right.
Which like
there's no plot. There's no plot.
Right. No plot whatsoever. It's just them wandering around Vegas, and the movie's ending and the book's ending are both very abrupt. Let's just put it that way. And again, it almost feels like a narrative-less movie, but it's almost not the point that there's a narrative. It's more about the musings on, again, all of the things, you know, the heart of the American dream, which is what the subtitle of the book is. So, and
I really think it's about the counterculture. And, you know, he presents Las Vegas as being this very stiff, very, you know, Perry Como. You've got, you know, place where you've got all of these cops that are having a big, what do you call it? Like a big cop meeting, you know,
like a
there.
Big anti-drug convention.
Right. The corniest anti-drug convention. And you have these two things meeting, you know, and so even though this book comes out in 1971, its heart is really in, you know, like 68, 69 San Francisco, you know, where the hippie movement takes place. And, you know, there is talk in the book sort of about, you know, the movement not really achieving what they wanted it to, you know, there's a lot of questioning about where they're at and where society's at. And so to me, it's kind of this meeting of these two worlds that are completely different. And I imagine that's really what it was like with Hunter wandering around, trying to come up with these stories for Sports Illustrated or any of the, you know, any of these magazines that he wrote for, and just everything going past him and him sitting down to write something and going, I fucking got high for 3 days, you know,
right. Well, and that's the crazy thing about it is the thing I love about the movie, and again, not the book so much, but the movie, you do get to see this idea that Hunter S. Thompson is like, I don't know what the fuck they want me to do. Like, I don't like, why would you have me do this for you? Like, and again, you get that sense of just, he's a dude who just, Hunter S. Thompson talks about Dr. Gonzo, right? In the movie, the Benicio del Toro character. And he says one of the more famous lines, the too strange to live, too rare to die. And obviously that's as much a phrase to describe, you know, Dr. Gonzo, who was based off of a real person, Oscar Zeta Acosta. It's as much about him as it is about Hunter S. Thompson. And that's the thing. I mean, the thing that always brings me back to Hunter S. Thompson is the voice. And I don't know how to put this any other way, and trying not to be hyperbolic, but Johnny Depp evokes Hunter S. Thompson in a way that like no actors really do as well. Like there are few actors who can do what he does in this movie so well. Take all the weird hallucination shit out and the misogyny. It's a character piece where Johnny Depp gets to play his real life hero. Like, and
you know what's funny is he totally becomes Hunter S. Thompson. You see things like, you know, where he's shooting and he's got those shorts on and the visor and he's leaned over, and it's just like footage that we've seen of Hunter S. Thompson. Right. And he acts just like he is Hunter S. Thompson. And yet, oddly enough, and I think it's because his character is so high and subdued, the Benicio del Toro kind of steals every scene he's in. Because he's so fucking crazy and amazing and fun. And half the time we don't know what he's saying. In the parts where he's in the bathtub, he sounds like Toshiro Mifune in like Seven Samurai. It was like, argh, argh, and I don't even know what the fuck he's saying. And it's so weird and awesome. And it never gets less weird or awesome, no matter how many times you see it. I'm never less stupefied by the weirdness.
And that's the crazy thing about this movie, and I'm totally with you, is this idea that I've seen this movie so many times. I've seen it 3 times in the last 72 hours now. And every time I watch it, I'm focusing on something else. And if you just sit and watch, just zone out and zone Johnny Depp out of the movie completely, which is hard to do. Right. This movie is a insane masterclass in acting from Benicio del Toro, and he is not that far into his acting career at this point.
Right.
He's like, what, in his early 30s at this point? Guy is still acting at 56. I mean, I love Benicio del Toro. Somewhat playing the villain of this movie. It's hard to tell, but it's...
Well, it's almost like he's a different guy. When we catch him and he's back in the office, he's so different than what we've seen him before that you almost wonder if he was even really there or this was a hallucination. And it's so bizarre. And the other thing to mention about Benicio del Toro is, you know, there's a guy that becomes twice Oscar nominated, like a one-time winner for Traffic. And here he is, just this wildly stumbling around, crazy high guy that he's just amazing.
And he didn't get nominated for this. Like, I don't get it. Because again, like you mentioned,
it's too weird for old Academy voters.
It's very of a time, of a place. And look, I mean, on top of everything else, this movie is made in 98. What else is coming out in 98 that's even approaching
Jackie
this?
Brown. No. I mean, no.
Nothing as subversive or transgressive. Again, like this movie is glorifying drug use.
A lot of the older Academy voters, you can almost see them as those cops in the hotel there, where they're like, know your dope fiend and all that stuff in that meeting. And I feel like a lot of the older Academy voters, even though they were awesome in their time, there were things that they weren't getting. And that's the same old story about the Academy. It's almost always that way.
Right.
You've got some of the people that are so stiff that the good things pass them by. And they miss them because they're voting for things that were like movies 20 years ago.
Dances with Wolves.
Well, and I'm a huge Costner fan, but which is weird, I know, but no, Dances with Wolves should not have won. It should not have won.
Not over Goodfellas.
Not over Goodfellas, my favorite movie. No.
Right, I'm with you. Well, and here's the crazy thing, and I randomly plug a book. The Oscar Wars book is a very good book, all about this, the subject of the Oscars. And I think for me, it gave me a good perspective on exactly what you're talking about, which is this idea that something like this is so atypical of what I want from a quote serious acting movie. Because that's the thing, these serious performances, quote unquote serious, as in high quality performances, are sandwiched in a movie where there are lizards eating one another and frolicking in their filth. And like, there are two amazing performances in this completely batshit insane movie.
Well, speaking of the lizard heads, okay, so we talked earlier about even if you haven't done those drugs, you feel like that it must be what it's like, right? Well, the thing about the movie that's interesting is that while we don't know what's going on, they don't know what's going on. Because, Hunter S. Thompson is so high that we're seeing these things at the same time he's seeing these things. And he's like, what the fuck is happening? Or when he sees the bats and he's like, it's bat country, and all of this, bat shit is what this is. But it's fantastic because we're experiencing it as he is. And I'm guessing every high has got to be somewhat different with some of these drugs. And, because he just seems so oddly shocked by the things that he's seeing at different times. Like the lizard head people.
Right. Which then shows up later in the movie where he has one of those lizard tails on in a weirdly meta. And again, like it's never explained. It's a very meta inclusion because then it makes me wonder what is going on here. And and that is the thing about this movie, I think, just at its core. And I think the reason so many people maybe are put off by this movie is the thing that you've mentioned. There's never a moment of reprieve. It actually saves what you could say the most intensely uncomfortable scene in the entire movie is saved for essentially sending you out the door. They send you out the door with a kick in the pants is what it feels like. But again, very intentional by Terry Gilliam. But it's crazy to me because like you said, there's never a moment of reprieve in this movie. The reprieve is the moment you fucking leave, like the moment you step back out into reality.
And I think that's why, you mentioned watching the movie, kind of paying attention to other things, coming and going to it. I think that's why it somehow works more than just sitting there and watching it 2 hours through, because you're just being hammered over the head with crazy shit to the point where, I'm sorry, to me, even though I've seen it a bazillion times or whatever, it can get a little dull because it's so much of the same thing. Whereas if you're sitting there and you're kind of coming and going with it, oh my God, there's more crazy shit. And then you fade up and more crazy shit, instead of just crazy shit, crazy shit, crazy shit, crazy shit, if that makes sense. And
it's like a fire hose of insanity with the crazy shit. And it's constant. There's, Terry Gilliam, I think is, and again, we mentioned this before, like, how did somebody adapt this? I still don't know what the fuck anybody was thinking. In a lot of ways, Terry Gilliam is the only person who could have done this justice because he has a sense of bringing the surreal to life on screen in a believable way. See Brazil, see so many of, like so many of his things. And, the book is, I won't say that the book is tame, but the book's a lot more tame than the movie. Yeah. Like if you're reading the book expecting to see the insanity of the movie, you're going to be disappointed. And that is shocking. I would feel like to tell someone who's seen the movie that the book is subdued comparatively.
Right. When you say that he's the only one to direct it, I think, again, we can look at, the lesser movies like Rum Punch Diaries, which is, Jesus. Again, is Johnny Depp playing Hunter S. Thompson, but it's boring. And then you can look at where the buffalo roam, which isn't bad, but it also isn't good. Those movies in no way compare to this. And there's one big reason for it, and it's Terry Gilliam.
Right. Well, and also, I mean, fucking Rum Diaries. Like, the story is not exciting. Like,
did I say Rum Punch Diaries? I don't know.
Oh,
either way.
It should be called The Tongue Punch Diaries, because that movie is the reason we got bombarded with the bullshit about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard last year, is because of the goddamn Rum Diaries, because they met on the set of that movie. That movie
they hadn't.
Right, exactly. I wouldn't have to hear about all their insanity for like a year.
Bed pooping and all of that. No,
I stepped on a bee. Oh, everything about
she is so hot, and I can never look at her again without thinking of her pooping on the bed, and that just ruins it. And I am, and it's, you know what, I really like Johnny Depp. I like him in this movie. I like it. There's several movies. I love him in Ed Wood. I love him in Dead Man. But if he left and I never saw him again, I'd be okay with that, because that year just felt like, oh my God, you talk about getting hit over the head with a hammer over and over again. It was so bad. So annoying.
I wanted to ask you, because again, we have now this is the first time we've talked about Johnny Depp on this show post all the fun of last year. I'm with you. Like, Johnny Depp. Look, I love Johnny Depp in Tusk. It's really weird.
One. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great in that. He's great in a lot of things. He's also really bad in a lot of stuff. And he's also in things that he has no right being in.
Lone Ranger and shit like that. Like, really?
Yeah. Or what was that movie where he's investigating Tupac's death? Do you remember that?
Oh, I don't even think I've seen that, but I don't want to see that.
City of Lies. That's what it's called. Came out in 2018.
I have never watched that. I'm actually reading a book about Tupac now. Not that it matters, but I really don't want to see that, though. Wow.
But Johnny Depp, like, for me, he's always all over the place. But this for me,
inconsistent.
Right.
He is like Hunter S. Thompson, very inconsistent. Good when he's good, way less so when way less so. Maybe that's why they connect. Maybe that's why he relates to him. I mean, it's a funny thing to say, and that's not really why, but they are a lot alike in that way.
Right. And you're totally right. Because when I think of the good Johnny Depp, there's nobody better like this. Like this is, for me, this is the Johnny Depp performance. Like, right. Of all of them. I think if you ask Johnny Depp, he might say that this is his performance of It's either this or Jack Sparrow, right? It's got to be.
I hate that. I know that I'm awful. I hate those Pirates of the Caribbean movies so much.
Really?
When I saw the first one, I thought, when I saw the first one, I thought he was pretty cool. It had the swagger. He's, doing the Keith Richards thing, but I just got so sick of them, and it doesn't really matter. But and like the second one, I think it was, where I went and I had to review it for the paper. Second one or the third one, and it kept having these false endings, and I really just wanted to leave. So with every false ending, I'm like, "Fuck you!" Quit with the false ending so I can leave.
Even angrier, just I'm so angry. But I mean, I get it though with the whole, if he went away and never came back, I'd be happy, because I mean, I feel like I've seen the thing now, right? With Johnny, yeah. I've seen the Johnny Depp thing. Like, it's Pirates of the Caribbean, it's Tusk. It's like, there are so many things that you can point to and just be like, yeah, like Ed Wood. There you go. That's Johnny Depp's body of work. Tusk, he did something weird. Ed Wood is pretty straightforward. This is pretty weird and straightforward. And then, Public Enemies is like, gimme bullshit. Like, oh yeah, right. Like,
but we got to see Marion Cotillard halfway naked, and I was okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, but it's still Johnny Depp just being right. Johnny Depp, right? Like, oh yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I'm with you though, because I don't know. I like the guy. He's a great actor, but like, this is peak Johnny Depp for me.
Right. It's like we found out he's really annoying. Like, him and Amber Heard, that was the main thing, was they were both really fucking annoying. And people are like, it's her fault, it's his fault. They both suck. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, but he's a great actor and she's whatever. And, but it's almost like Kanye, but not in that same way.
Right.
Like, Kanye's the worst human. He's made some masterpiece albums, but he's the shittiest human that you will ever meet. Johnny Depp is not that, but there are so many people that make really good art. And then once you find out who they are, it's like, fuck. It would be great. I had a friend that's a novelist that told me one time, the best way to consume books would be if you didn't know who wrote them. And I think that's absolutely true. And I don't know how you would make a movie and people not know, unless you wore a mask. But Johnny Depp sucks. I'm okay without Johnny Depp anymore, but he's an amazing actor. But I also don't think we're going to get much range. Like even these, they're very similar, except for Jack Sparrow, which is way out there. Because even in this, it's a wild movie, but he's subdued.
He's very
all the shit
subdued.
is happening around him.
Right. He's very subdued in this movie. Almost in a way that, again, like he has to almost be the straight man in the movie.
Right. He absolutely is. So he's kind of reporting on all the crazy shit that Dr. Gonzo is doing, or that he perceives Dr. Gonzo is doing, because we don't even know what's real and what's not in this movie.
So I have a question for you then, because you kind of brought this up and I've never thought about it. Is there a way to interpret this movie where Benicio del Toro isn't actually there until it's just those office scenes?
Gonzo, I mean, he's the Gonzo journalist, and he's
right. Dr. Gonzo.
He also calls himself Doctor. But even though we know he's based on a real character, I have thought of that, like, is he really there, or is this are there two parts to this character? I don't know. And speaking of which, it is fun. You mentioned meta. It is fun when we see the real Hunter S. Thompson pop up in a cameo for about 2 seconds.
I love that. And there I am.
And there I am.
And again, like I when I was watching it with my wife, I was like, that's the real guy there. And she's like, oh, okay. Right. Like, but how could he is such a weird dude to make a movie about like this, because this isn't a lot of ways like it's a biopic almost.
Right. And it's about 2 episodes that are it's such a weird movie. It has no right to be as good as it is. And again, see those other 2 movies. I mean, but it is.
Well, and you're totally right. Terry Gilliam is someone who I haven't seen enough of his work. I have yet to see Brazil. I know, but I've seen 12 Monkeys. I've seen Time Bandits.
Right.
Munchausen. So, and again, like,
right. Also, they're all weird.
Right. And also a huge fan of Python. And he is,
right.
I mean, again, like, Jesus Christ, like, I don't know, like, I feel like Python is normal without Terry Gilliam. Right?
Right.
I don't know.
So,
like,
yeah.
I feel like a lot of the weird things that make Python are due to Terry Gilliam.
That's probably right.
And I feel like that's the case because you see how unique his voice is on his own.
Now, just imagine you could add acid in there to the, right. I mean, I'm sure there probably was drugs in there, but we weren't seeing it on screen. But imagine, you had Monty Python about drugs, and that
right
be an interesting bridge there.
For something like for someone like Terry Gilliam and the ideas and the things that they're already working on bringing it to this, does it feel like he amped up the drug stuff and like the weirdness to make up for a lack of quote narrative through line? Because that's something I've wondered every time I watch it. It's like the weird stuff that we're seeing is like doesn't serve anything, and in a lot of ways, like you mentioned, there is nothing to serve.
Right. No, I think that's absolutely. I think it's to keep you interested. It's to keep your eyes glued to the screen. I think it's at least that first time, because there's so much weird shit going on, and most of it's visual.
Right.
Absolutely. And so, like, when you say it's weirder or it's more over the top than the book, I think that's true, and I think that's why. That would be my guess. So what I was going to say was, can we talk for a minute about all of the weird cameos?
Oh, my God.
My favorite is Christopher Maloney. They have him. Now, again, this movie's made in the 90s, so you can make this. He's not flamboyant, but we know that he's gay from the moment. And in the 90s, that's a joke kind of thing. But it's interesting to see Christopher Maloney, even though, he does homosexual acts, I guess, in Oz right around that time, maybe a little later. But it's interesting to see him play this kind of character because he seems so different than the Christopher Maloney that we are used to seeing. And and so he's got this weird outfit on that looks kind of like a matador's outfit. If you look at it, it's really weird. And then you have all this, like where he's arguing with the cop, and the cop says, can I call you, or he asks the cop, can I call you a cab? And the cop says, sure, and I'll call you a cocksucker, which again, we're looking at from a book in 1971 and a movie in 1998. But I thought it was interesting to see Maloney because he's good. And at first you're like, is that fucking Christopher Maloney? And it is.
Because it's the Maloney with hair. That's why. The first time I ever saw him in anything, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. Where he's under all that makeup.
Right. The good
Right.
girl in Kumar movie, though.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that movie's
One time he was a foot away from me. I won't much get into it because it's not a real interesting story, but I was just, because there's a lot more, but I was waiting for a friend that was coming out of the David Letterman show. And so I'm standing outside and I buy this cabbie, and this is the most New York story ever. Christopher Maloney walks by, he's a foot away. And I'm talking to the cabbie. I tell the cabbie, hey. And at the time, I didn't know who he was. I'm like, that's a famous guy. And he goes, yeah, fuck that guy. And there's my New York story. So
that is the most New York way to handle it. Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
I like him. I like him a lot. And that scene between him and Troy Evans, of all people, I don't know if that's a cameo, I guess, but it's he's just a great character actor.
Oh, right.
That is directly from the book, where it's like, I've never had the opportunity to tell a cop to go fuck themselves, but I'm going to do it here in the nicest way possible. I love the things that they bring back from the book, because again, like, that's such a random thing, but yet Gilliam and the rest of the screenwriting team is like, that's something that needs to be in the movie. Well, so let's have Christopher Maloney.
Where the voice comes through the strongest, because there's another cop one that makes me laugh, and it's the whole thing about where he's talking about it confuses cops if you just pull over when they catch you for speeding. And he says, if you pull over, it arouses contempt in the cop heart. And I've always thought of that line. I don't know. It's just such a weird fucking line. And it's funny because he takes it as so serious because he's spun out.
Right. And boy, wouldn't you be spun out if I think that's one of the best cameos in the movie. If the cop that pulled you over is Gary fucking Busey.
And the uniform does not fit him. Like his belly's really hanging over. And
yeah, it's not peak Busey. Let's put it that way. But he's proper creepy.
Oh, he is.
And that's the thing about this movie that we kind of haven't mentioned. There are parts of this movie that are very scary, like that really lean on what you would call horror tropes. I mean, that moment where Benicio del Toro comes out of the bathroom and Hunter S. Thompson is on adrenochrome. I mean, that is actually really scary, and the way that it's lit is very, I mean, not giallo, but it's Italian horror. It's very bright.
No, the colors on some of those scenes do look very giallo.
Right. And it's really surprising because, again, this isn't a horror movie by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I don't think that this movie has a genre. I think it's in a lot of ways like a movie that the reception to it is because it's genreless.
Some of these would be scary if you were taking a bad trip, I think. Like when he's on acid and he's in the casino and everything's spinning and it's red and it's crazy colors and he thinks the carpet's sucking him in. And I mean, those are crazy. Those are creepy. They look like an Argento movie.
Right. Well, and I think, each of the ways that the drugs would affect you in real life, Gilliam tries to replicate that with what he's doing. I mean, with the adrenochrome, it's very narrow. And I mean, that it's very narrow and close up on Benicio del Toro in that scene where he has the tits on his back and the horns. And it's horrifying. But again, like you said, I mean, this is him tripping and us experiencing the trip with him, which again, like I think Gilliam just, if I'm going to have someone do it, Terry Gilliam is the person, because he just has an eye for it that, again, we know that he's not actually seeing these lizards having sex with one another and eating one another, but Terry Gilliam does such a good job of shifting in and out of it. Like
it is kind of creepy in a weird way. And like I said, I think if you're high, you would be creeped out. You would be scared if you saw these, or you imagined that you saw these things.
Yeah,
and I agree. Another little crazy role to me is Tobey Maguire. They make him look so crazy that he looks like something out of, like House of a Thousand Corpses or something. Like he's, balding and he's got this stringy hair and he looks kind of gross and kind of creepy. And it's almost hard to believe that it's Tobey Maguire. It's fucking Spider-Man.
And I don't understand what was the idea behind making him look that way. Again, like that's not from the book that he looks this like strange. I think
it's just, again, visually interesting.
Right.
And I think maybe you're sitting there and so you'll sit there and wonder, like, what the fuck is up with this guy? Like something's going to happen with him. It doesn't really. Like he's just kind of there.
He's the straight man in that scene.
He's the straight man. Yeah. And then later on, when Hunter sees him and he freaks out and he fucking spins out and breaks his car down. And
is Ellen Barkin in her scene wearing a wig on top of her hair? Because I can never tell in that scene, but it's very weird. She, like, just like with Tobey Maguire, she looks strange.
I don't know.
Like made to look strange.
Right.
Again, I mean, that scene is beyond uncomfortable. I mean, if like you mentioned, you've showed this to your 4 previous wives. If you can make it to that scene, that would be the scene where I feel like most women watching this would turn off. And
most of them turned out in the first 3 minutes, but but I mean, Cameron Diaz is one of the only people that looks normal in the movie, you know?
Well, and that's the thing. I feel like in a lot of ways, this is Hunter S. Thompson just interacting with a lot of really weird people.
Absolutely.
Kind of like something I just talked about, After Hours, where it's like there is 1 or 2 normal people throughout, but all of a sudden there are dwarfs with telephones and lizard people and Penn Jillette. And
no, that's absolutely what I think makes absolutely. It's a good comparison to After Hours because you've got this character just kind of wandering through crazy shit, bouncing off from one thing to the next thing to the next thing.
Without seemingly any narrative holding it together.
Right.
And
absolutely.
I think it works here rather well. I mean, I do understand the reviews at the time kind of taking the movie to task at being not boring, but not seeming to have a point. I get it. I get it, but I don't think that if you read the source material, you would feel like
this would be a great movie. Right.
Right. Exactly. Like I wouldn't think like, oh, this is a good idea. We're going to adapt something that has a plot that goes from A to B to C. Like that was never going to be this.
But Terry Gilliam picks weird, his many years that he worked on that Don Quixote movie. I mean,
right.
And it really was not very good. But
I never saw it. I mean, I'm surprised.
Isn't it that Man of La Mancha? Isn't that the?
Yeah. Or the man who killed Don Quixote, right?
Is that it? I don't know.
Is it? I mean, you said
maybe
it's not
I didn't
good.
even see it. I don't know. The fact that I didn't hear more about it, I think, is a bad sign. You know what I mean? The only thing that I heard is about them making it.
For like 20 plus years.
Forever.
To the point where it came out with Adam Driver.
Right. And Orson Welles worked on making the same story for many, many, many years and got nowhere.
Well, and that's the thing about Terry Gilliam. I mean, the things that he's made more recently, and he works very infrequently, are interesting. The Zero Theorem's interesting. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus is fine. I mean, he's very Tim Burton-esque, but Tim Burton actually has like an output like that,
right,
as opposed to like every 10 years type thing. Because I think for Terry Gilliam, it's like every 5 years.
But again, I think it goes back to what we were talking about. So many artists have their strong period, and then they work. And if they're strong, they'll continue to have okay stuff.
Right.
But it never really hits that peak. And I could be wrong. Terry Gilliam's next movie might be fucking amazing. But you have guys like Scorsese that can still do it, but you have to sit through like that 9-hour fucking Priest movie to get there, and I love Scorsese. I wrote a book on Scorsese. I love Scorsese, but. Well,
and I'm sure just like yourself, there was nobody more excited to watch The Irishman than you or me or anyone who.
I saw it in the theater. And
I did not see it in the theater. I refused. It was fine. It was fine. Right.
I wanted it to be better. In the moment, I convinced myself it was better. And I walked out and I'm like, yeah. And then as time passed, I'm like, no. And then I tried to watch it on Netflix and I was like,
it made me like Casino more. That's what it did.
Right. Absolutely.
And like, I will say, like, as much as I love Goodfellas, Casino is I love Casino just as much. I love them both equally, which is weird to say.
I can't quite go there, but it's funny. My wife, when I met her, and she's not a big movie person, but she loves Casino. And she was like, I don't understand why, you're always talking about Goodfellas being better than Casino. And I do think part of it's Casino feels long. Casino feels long to me.
Right. And it doesn't have as many fun moments. Casino is a much more serious, dour movie. And Sharon Stone makes it a lot more serious of a movie.
That's true. I think in some ways, even though Sharon Stone was amazing in it, Sharon Stone, all of her stuff is the parts I like less.
Oh, I don't like her in the movie.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying is I think.
But that's her job, though, right? Like, she's made to be like she's one of the most intentionally awful characters in cinema.
Right.
Like, she's in a movie that if she wasn't in it, I would love the movie a lot more, but she has to be in it. Right.
Right.
Because I love Lorraine Bracco in Goodfellas. So.
Right.
But
Lorraine Bracco, I think, is a better actress.
Well, that's true. But that's the thing about Fear and Loathing that I will say about in regards to like the level of acting, the amount of acting that Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro do, they have to carry the movie. And they really they do a good job of carrying it. I mean, again, we do have all these even the characters that reoccur, like Tobey Maguire, like Christina Ricci, even those characters, they don't feel like characters outside of cameos. It feels like Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro are the only actors in the movie, and everybody else is just a cameo.
As a writer, I never feel like it's always my outlook that characters don't have to serve a meaning or serve a purpose if it's like real life. But then I watch a movie and I go, this character doesn't really serve a purpose. And I feel like all of the characters in this, there are so many people that wander in and you think they don't really serve a purpose. And then I have to think about my stance on that, because it's like they're okay. They're walking through the screen, or they walk across. They're like, here they are again. But so many of them. I mean, if you couldn't, I don't know, just make a movie about their interaction, it would not be interesting. It's really better than the sum of its parts or whatever.
Right.
I mean, it's a really interesting movie overall. But there are, Tobey Maguire's character. Why the fuck is he there? You said that. Why the fuck is he there? Christina Ricci's character is kind of interesting. She makes all these these terrible Barbara Streisand paintings, and they're talking about maybe pimping her out.
Which is so strange. And that's
it almost feels like it's from something else. Like it almost doesn't fit. Oh, it is. No, it is. But tonally, it feels different.
Well, and I wonder, and I feel like because it's such a moment that stands out, I feel like it is really Raoul Duke, or again, Hunter S. Thompson, leaning on like, okay, so how do we capitalize like capitalism, this opportunity, and pervert the American dream of having it all? Well, we have this woman here that we can pimp out. And it's like, even his, even Dr. Gonzo goes, it's too far. That's too far, man. Like, which is fucking crazy because this is the craziest character we've seen throughout the entire movie, and that's too far for him.
Right. Well, and look, I'm probably wrong on this, but I get the feeling when I'm watching the movie, not the book, when I'm watching the movie, almost that there's almost like this under thing that maybe Dr. Gonzo has done some stuff to her sexually before he comes in, because there's such a worry about her being here. And if you haven't done anything with her, and she's a minor and all this, who cares? Just send her away. But
right.
They're so horrified. And even though they don't talk about it, I feel like he's the gross character that would do it. And I feel like, Hunter's character, Raoul Duke, would know this character well enough that it would be an unspoken thing that he would just see her there and go,
Well, I think that is what he does, right?
The next, right? Like, and so maybe I'm just taking it to the next level there. But I mean, it's never actually said, but I feel like there's just an implication of her being there and the way that they act about it. But she's not naked. I can't remember how it's played in the book.
In the book, he says like, but what happens if she goes to the cops and then she says to the cops that I was involved in what is it? A non-consensual sodomy. So, right. And like he freaks out at that. So again, like you said, it's like implied. And that God, right. It's like, that's why he's such a terrible character. Jesus
he's
Christ.
So bad.
Yeah. And again, like, but that's the thing that always makes me wonder about that character, because then we see him when he's not doped up.
And he seems like a whole other person. It's interesting.
Like
it really is.
A completely different person.
But it's only when he's on the phone and he's completely away.
Right.
When he's around Raoul, he's this crazed madman. It is interesting.
And then the scene where he's in the bathtub.
He's the craziest in that damn well, that's one of his craziest, And I don't remember what it is that Raoul is poking at him with, but
it's like
got like a.
It's the he's poking
the rod from the shower curtain.
From the shower curtain, yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, that scene is again directly from the book, and it's crazy because Benicio del Toro is in the bathtub, blazed out of his mind on an entire sheet of blotter acid.
Right.
Asking Raoul Duke to throw the record player into the tub when White Rabbit peaks so that he dies.
That's right.
It's fucking insanity. And it goes on forever. And that's the thing about this movie. Honestly, we've talked about movies on the show before, like a Serbian film, those kind of like movies that are a test of your endurance of what you can endure. Right. As a watcher of film. And this movie, I think, goes in that camp. And I don't think it gets talked about enough. I think a lot of it's got to be the editing, too. I think it's got to be well edited to keep the rhythm, because some of this shit goes on for so long. Right. Oh, totally.
Somehow it maintains its rhythm without if that makes sense. I don't even know who the editor on this film is, but.
Leslie Walker, who, she worked a lot with Richard Attenborough and Terry Gilliam, and she actually worked on the Man Who Killed Don Quixote movie. So
there we go.
Yeah. So and I'm with you actually, because that's the thing. Like that scene where they're in the bathtub, Del Toro is, and then Johnny Depp is outside with the record player. It goes on for a long time. and it doesn't ever feel like a slog. And there are several scenes in this movie that are actually like that. That scene, the scene where he's freaking out in the adrenochrome, and then that scene kind of when they first get to the hotel room, and it goes on for a while. And you have Lacerda coming in, and he's like talking to them, and they're freaking out. Craig Bierko and like the most random
Craig Bierko, it's so weird.
Fucking random.
Okay, here's the thing that I wonder. We talk about whether or not those scenes really happen with Dr. Gonzo. I almost wonder if and we're reading probably way farther than is intended into this, but I almost wonder if none of this stuff really happens. And the reason I say that is because when other characters come around, like Craig Bierko or the guy the bellhop or the guy that comes in with the food, they don't ever seem to notice that, here's Raoul hiding under a table, or here's shit broken all over the room, and there's stuff on the walls and everything's broken. No one ever seems fazed. Like, it's almost like this is a thing that only Raoul is seeing. And again, probably reading into it, but it's a good read.
Well, and I'm with you though, because again, there is this sense of, and it's later in the movie, and I think it's maybe the one part of the movie that I think the storytelling structure kind of fails the movie, is when he's talking about when Johnny Depp or Hunter S. Thompson takes the adrenochrome and he freaks out. He then wakes up, and it's implied that he's waking up like days later.
Right.
And he then starts listening to the tape recorder, and then it starts showing us scenes from the past, and it shows us a lot. And that part of the movie, I feel like, is a little confusing because we're shown a lot of stuff, and I don't think there's any context to any of this, frankly. But we're shown a lot of these things that happened when he was, I guess, so fucking high he didn't remember it. But what's crazy is in a lot of those scenes, he seems lucid.
But and this could play in with the creation of the book, even though it's based on real things. It's also a novel, so half of it's made up. So half of it could be from these weird delusions, if that makes sense.
That's fair. I mean, and again, like, there is part of me that wonders that about like some of the things in the movie are just, concocted. But again, like the book, Hunter S. Thompson we never questioned the validity of the book. But again, like the book does seem like some of it maybe is being embellished.
Well, we're talking about the guy that embedded himself with the Hells Angels for a year. So, I mean, I'm willing to believe just about anything he says, no matter how fucking crazy it is. But he's a crazy bastard.
Yeah.
Speaking of crazy bastard, real quick, I love all of the shitty things that he calls Dr. What the fuck is his name?
Dr. Gonzo.
That he calls Dr. Gonzo throughout the movie, because he always has like something like, you dumb bastard. Not that, but it's always like these really pointed, shitty things. Like every time he speaks to him, like there's probably a good 6 times where he calls him some shitty different barb.
I love that he's like not even sure what nationality he is. He's like, "What are you, Samoan?"
What are you, Samoan? I looked, and I guess he is Samoan. Not that it matters, but
right. And he also just one day disappeared.
That's right. And then he sends him a message, and he talks to him on the phone. Like, he sends him the message, and I love that the guy at the hotel's like, "Well, we were under the impression he's still here because the room is in his name." I love that.
Right.
And then he's like, "Yeah, he'll be back later," and then he drives away, basically.
Yeah, but I love the idea that all of this takes place in Las Vegas, and then he's like you mentioned, he's like, "All right, I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. I'm going back to LA." And he gets all the way, to Baker, and then he has this, "Oh my God, I got to go back." And then we have what feels like the second act of the movie, because essentially that's the first act is up until, Dr. Gonzo leaves in the night, and then we have and I'm not as big of a fan of the second act of the movie as I am the first.
Well, because it's in a way a repeat of what we've already seen.
Right.
I mean, it's different, but it's kind of like, Clockwork Orange. Like, once I get to the part where he goes, and now we come to the, whatever part of the story, I tune out, because even though it's cool, we're going to go back and see him go through all the shit we've already seen in the movie. You know what I mean? And it feels like it's just a sort of a repeat. I mean, it's different, but I wish he'd gone anywhere else but Las Vegas at that point.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you have this kind of pointed commentary in the first half of the movie about the American dream and kind of, the chase and the need for it and what happens when you don't get it, and the people that were disillusioned by it and what happened to them. And then you have the second half of the movie, and it's like trying to maybe lambast the police and their treatment of drug culture, and it doesn't have the teeth that the first half of the movie does at all.
It's just like it's coasting on what we've already seen.
Well, and it's like, the characters are crazy, and isn't it crazy that they're now at the Flamingo surrounded by cops on drugs, and they're
still doing the same shit, even though they're surrounded by cops.
Right. And even Raoul Duke says it. He's like, isn't it crazy that we can go from one side of Las Vegas to the other and just like fuck one place up and then go and fuck somewhere else up? It's like, yeah, it is kind of crazy, because you would think somebody would say something to someone else, like, don't let these people in your hotel. But to what end? Because again,
like he talks about the food bill, how they're amassing something like $48 per hour for
48 hours straight.
Some shit. And it's some ridiculous amount of money. And it's like, God damn. But do you ever see them? Oh, I was going to say, do we ever see them eat? But I guess they talk about eating fish and shit. So I guess it's sometimes, but so much of it's just them running around fucking shit up. And I'm thinking, how much food are they ordering to this room that's just going to waste?
Right.
Kitchen in the corner? What the fuck?
Oh, that's the thing. They just seem like such agents of chaos.
That's it.
Right.
That's who they are.
Right. And
for no real purpose. They're just there to.
Well, and again,
chaos.
and there's this idea that like, oh, we're here to do this Mint 400 race and we're going to cover it. And those scenes at that race are fine. But similarly to the scenes at the cop kind of convention,
right,
they go on for way too long. And I'm like, just get them away from here, back to them just fucking around.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's some quality to just watching two guys being weird on screen in 70s Las Vegas that is enticing for me. And like, that's why I like this movie, is I can just be in this world with them for a while, live in it, and then be done and put it back on the shelf.
I really feel like this is something like Catcher in the Rye, though, the book, where so much of it is just about the writing style.
Right.
I mean, Terry Gilliam has made a really interesting movie, but the book to me is primarily about the writing style, because there's really nothing happening.
Right.
You get a lot of wry remarks for, 200 pages, but it's really about the writing. And to me, that's one of those things they always talk about. You could never make a movie out of Catcher in the Rye. Well, you could. It would probably be shitty. Maybe if Terry Gilliam made it, it would be amazing. But, I really think some of these books are just sort of exercises in, you have to admire the writing, because this movie is so much more absolute, because this movie is, the visuals are so good. And when you read the book, you certainly don't see those visuals in your mind.
Right.
They're amazing.
And that's the thing. Like, I almost don't, and this sounds crazy, but like, I almost don't think the book matters in regards to the movie. Right? Like it doesn't. Like, you can watch the movie and never read the book. And I think you'll get, maybe you won't get as strong of a message as Hunter S. Thompson makes, and the case that he makes in Fear and Loathing, and the kind of the suppositions and the observations he comes to. Right. Maybe you're not going to pick up on it as much, but by adding narration in the movie, they do a pretty fucking good job at replicating what the book is getting at. And I mean, we haven't really talked about it because it's almost like the third character of the movie, but Depp's narration is amazing.
Right.
That's where he's Hunter S. Thompson.
Right.
I mean, Raoul Duke is the character on screen, but that narration is Hunter S. Thompson, because it's all, none of it is like, oh, what am I seeing here? He's like, oh, there was something on the, it's like, it's very just like the whole thing with the reptiles, like just listening. If you just listen to that scene, it's just like you're listening to the book. Right.
No, it does. It does. All of it. We were somewhere near Barstow when on the edge of the desert, when the drugs started to take hold. I mean, it's Hunter.
Right.
I think if you were listening to an audiobook of Hunter reading it, that is exactly what you would hear.
And honestly, it boggles my mind that Johnny Depp has never done the narration for the audiobooks of Fear and Loathing. Like I would fucking listen to that, because he would do the Hunter S. Thompson voice.
It'd be amazing.
And you know what? Here, just get him and Benicio del Toro to come back for the audiobook. That I mean that would be amazing.
Benicio's will mainly just be making noises, though.
But that's the thing. The character of Dr. Gonzo in the book is also subdued comparatively. I mean, he is a bigger character on screen than the character is in the book.
Absolutely. But I love all the times he says stuff like, as your doctor, or what did he say?
As your lawyer.
As your doctor, or as your lawyer, I recommend you, take more drugs, basically.
Right. Well, and the moment that he's like, all right, we have to go cover the Mint 400, he's like, oh, we're going to go kill a skag baron named Savage Henry. It's like, Oh, I've made a mistake by bringing you with me, haven't I? Well, and that's the thing. That's the subversive thing about this movie that I do love, is that at the end of the day, if you take all the social narrative out, it's a road movie about two dudes high off their asses being complete assholes in 70s Las Vegas.
It's
and what's not to love?
Just Harold and Kumar out here doing this with
like
that would be crazy. I mean, if you had the light version where you had no social commentary, but I'm only saying that because you mentioned that earlier. But
it's an apt comparison.
Are some heavy dopers here going on,
right? But it's an apt comparison, right? Well, and the knife. But that's the thing. I mean, like, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle is a good comparison to this movie because it's a drug-based road movie. And this is a drug-based road movie. I mean, again, like, it's not a stoner movie. It's much more intense than that. Like, it's...
Well, and they're both, what is that word? Picaresque? It's one of those things when you read a lot, you see words and you don't hear them.
Right.
Like picaresque travels, where they encounter all these weird fucking people. They kind of are the same kind of thing.
Yeah. And I love that about this movie. Again, like, even as crazy as Dr. Gonzo and Raoul Duke are, they almost feel like the sanest people in the movie because everything else that we see around them is so insane. Insane. I mean, there is a moment where they're in Circus and the Flying Fellini family or sisters are throwing in the book, it's a Wolverine, so I assume it's a Wolverine in the movie. And they're throwing a Wolverine above people gambling in a casino. And Hunter S. Thompson says it in the book. He's like, a dope fiend gets normalized to seeing his grandmother climbing up his leg with a knife in her mouth. But the idea of a guy, just some random asshole with $2 going in on the strip is insane to them. Like that. In the movie, they're doing things that the book doesn't do. That's not in the book. Like, that's all in the movie. And that's why it feels so weird. What's
interesting is no matter what crazy shit is going on, it is so different from them. Like, it's somehow still buttoned up, white collar, weird, straight, comparatively. Do you know what I mean? So no matter, even this fucked up shit with the wolf being thrown around or whatever, they're looking at, or the ape, let's not what is he saying? Let's not cut corners or whatever. Just, how much do you want for the ape? Like, there's so much weird shit going on, but everything that they do is almost presented as being normal, and all the other stuff, which is square and normal, and that's the weird shit. And it's interesting in that way. Again, that's kind of a countercultural thing, but to those people, everything else is the weird shit, not them.
Right. Well,
I find that kind of fascinating.
And I feel like for me, that is what Terry Gilliam brings to this, is visualizing a satirical version of the American dream. And that's what Las Vegas is. I mean, I'm sure you've been to Las Vegas.
I have.
I've been to Las Vegas.
Money there.
Right. Las Vegas is a weird place. If you've ever been, it's strange. And there's no way to describe it. And I think that this is a very interesting way of using Las Vegas as a prism to view the American dream through.
Right.
And I mean, it's not the first time somebody's done it, and it's not the last time, but it's one of the best times because you have, like you mentioned, you can juxtapose it against the 60s and the era of change. Because like Hunter S. Thompson says, we knew that we were going to win against the old and the evil. We knew that we had the momentum on our side, but then the wave broke. And it's like that, there hasn't been a cultural time in this country since. And there may, hopefully there will be again. It feels like we're in the middle of that in a lot of ways sometimes, but there is.
We're due.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. That's what it feels like. But at the same time, I appreciate that this is the time and place that it happens to be taking place. And that is what makes this such a important story, I feel like, to tell or to retell on the screen.
Now, I wonder what Hunter would think of Las Vegas today, where everybody's taking their kids like it's Disneyland, And what would Raoul Duke say about these kids, like they brought their fucking children to play, it's a weird place. It's almost like Disneyland. And
now,
who the hell wants to go? Well, yeah, who the hell wants to go and take all their, to me, as somebody that grew up watching all these movies and, going there and seeing all these fucking children was really weird because I thought, this isn't the Las Vegas I was sold in the movies, and
right. Of
again,
casino.
It's about money. It's about, everything now. Everything has always been about money, but eventually it takes over and it ruins literally everything. And I'm not saying Las Vegas was good to start with, but whatever it was has now been every dollar has been wrung out of it to where now it's a big fucking theme park.
To the point where they're building a theme park.
Right, of course.
A Universal Studios, Halloween Horror Nights, permanent attraction in Las Vegas. It's insane. It is.
Go down to the brothel and, will you take your kids to that? Like, is that next? What the hell? Like, this is so weird.
Well, and it's that weird juxtaposition of, and I mean, Hunter S. Thompson mentions it in the book, of these, car salesmen from Dallas, which I grew up in Dallas, Bible thumping, Bible belt. I mean, you and I live in
Kansas.
Yeah, you and I live in the South, so we get it. But then they go and they spend their hard-earned money in America's Sin City and don't think anything of it. Just like that fucking sign in the movie where it's like, gamble with marijuana and spend your life in jail. And it's like, what are you talking about? You have people smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, and gambling. And those three things are somehow not as bad as marijuana.
Right. Very selective.
Right. It's that like insane hypocritical juxtaposition that the movie does really well by being like, well, it's 4:30 in the morning in Las Vegas.
Right.
And look at all these people trying to get the American dream by gambling a quote sin unquote.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's what I love about Hunter S. Thompson. But that's what Terry Gilliam brings to this project that I don't think anybody else could have, even though doing the research, Larry McMurtry was going to write the screenplay.
Oh, wow.
Originally. And
that would be interesting.
Right.
I can't imagine that.
And the other three names that were attached were Martin Scorsese, Ralph Bakshi.
Oh my God.
And Oliver Stone.
What's funny? Those last three names I could all see in a different way.
Right.
Because that was their time, that was their generation, and they're all like kind of crazy in different ways. Right.
But, I would love to have seen the Scorsese version of this. Like, my God, to be in the universe where that happened. Because
I've been screamed at by Ralph Bakshi multiple times. This is it. That's true. I mean, it's just when you do a lot of interviews, as you know, you're going to have some that go sideways. And when you have somebody that's different, like Ralph Bakshi, you run into that. But so anyway, I would love to see the Ralph Bakshi version. That would be weird as fuck.
That would be I think craziest of the
animated, three. But animated, I mean, you could pull off shit you're not even seeing in this movie. And
well, and that's
I can't
the thing.
Imagine how crazy that would have been.
And that's the thing. If they ever redid this in any form or fashion, that's the way you would do it. It would be animated like that. No, to me, it's fucking crazy that somebody made this into a live action movie. I mean, with the artwork, with the Stedman artwork that you can just do a movie off of, like, why nobody was like, let's just do that. Instead, they're like, no, let's make a movie out of this really impossible narrative. And it's what's fucking insane is
in its weird way, it works.
That's why we're here. And what's fucking crazy is if I think about another piece of literature that has to do with drugs that I feel like would be impossible to adapt, it's Naked Lunch. And they don't even adapt it in the way that this is a almost 1-for-1 adaptation of the book.
Right.
Like effectively, right? Like the things that happen in the book happen.
Points.
Right. Yeah. Naked Lunch, the book, and Naked Lunch, the movie are two completely different things.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me because I would never have thought somebody could have made this movie the way that Terry Gilliam made it, with Depp and Del Toro just playing those characters, because it shouldn't work. It really shouldn't work.
No. But it's great. I mean, it's just so weird and great. And I've never been high and watched this movie, but I would think that being high and watching this movie would be kind of amazing. Either that or really fucking slow, because anytime I've tried, like most of the times I've ever smoked and tried to watch a movie, like it just gets slower. Unless it's animated or some kind of some sort of like some kind of really crazy thing. But this is crazy, but in a way that, like, I remember one time trying to watch Face Off high, and I was with my friend and we were at somebody else's house, and we kept looking at each other, and we were like, it's only been 1 minute since we looked at the clock last time, and I got off track, but we're talking about drugs. We're talking about fucking crazy movies. So anyway, I think it would be an interesting movie to watch high, and I think it would bring a whole new perspective.
I did watch it high. I mean, high on grass, and
that's what I'm talking about. It's just weed. I'm old and safe. So I'm not.
And we live within driving distance of legal states, but practically fucking sandwiched by them at this point. I felt like I got I felt like I was focusing more on Hunter's or, Raoul Duke's commentary throughout the movie more than anything else. And I feel like I understood. I mean, again, I really like the Wave speech in the movie and in the book. And that's, I mean, again, like we've talked about already, like that is him really taking that generation to task on what did we actually achieve? And did we achieve anything that matters? And is it going to have any lasting power, or is it going to just ebb and flow like everything else?
And I feel like
we know the answer, unfortunately.
I always got the feeling that that's kind of how Hunter looked at his career. He looked at not just his career, but sort of his lifetime. I mean, maybe I'm reading in, but all of the interviews I've seen with him and the things about his life and him out shooting and stuff, it always seemed like, he knew that his better days were he ends up committing suicide. We didn't even talk about that, but which is terrible. But I mean, I always guessed anyway, I'm reading in, and maybe it's as a writer or whatever, but I'm always seeing him as somebody that's looking back. And it's in this movie, he's doing that. In this book, he's doing that. He's looking back. And I always wonder, does that change? Is that how he sees his whole career? Did I really accomplish anything? Did we really do anything? Did any of this mean a fucking thing? And it did to a lot of people. But to him, did it mean anything? And did it mean, even the people it meant it to, did it mean what he fucking wanted it to mean?
Well, and
here we are making up new shit. So, maybe he'd be proud of that.
Well, and that's the thing I always wonder is, what, like you asked, like, what would Hunter S. Thompson think of Las Vegas now? Like, what would he think of what has happened now? Because similarly to other people who I think speak to, again, it used to be the fun distrust of the government and the fun distrust of the higher power. Like that used to be a fun thing we could all agree with, and now it's been perverted by psychotic yo-yos to the point of just intolerance. Like these kinds of people, like George Carlin, like Hunter S. Thompson, like Bill Hicks, they all spoke about the same thing, which is not wanting to rest on one's laurels just because we made change, because it may never actually be able to stick around. And like you said, I mean, that feels like that's part and parcel with what's going on here.
Well, and also I always think about this, Thompson, just what you just said, but, and not to get political, not to, but Thompson and Kurt Vonnegut both spent their last days really railing on the George Bush presidency, and the right wing things that bothered them. And I have thought, like, either one of them, both of them died in the pre-Trump days. And whether a person likes or dislikes that, you could say it's a much more extreme version of the things that these guys hated about the Bush administration. And so I've always kind of wondered, because both of them were interesting critics of that kind of politics.
Well, and to go even further back, I mean, Hunter S. Thompson's like nemesis in his mind was Nixon.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he thought Nixon was like, the personification of the worst of American politics. And like, I don't see anybody defending Nixon now. So like Thompson was, if you use even someone less contemporary than Bush and someone like Nixon, I mean, Hunter S. Thompson now would be fuming and just beside himself, because the things we're seeing now are that level of corruption that Nixon never even reached in a lot of ways.
And Thompson seems so like enlivened, enraged, and lively in his battles or his fight against Nixon. And by the time we get to Bush, he already just seems beat down. He's still saying the same things in his writings and, when he makes appearances, but he seems tired of it all. He seems beat down. And maybe this is where I, come into the thing of he's thinking all of the things that we've done, did it matter? Because here we are battling a lot of the same shit. And now by this point, it's becoming more accepted. It's becoming more, and I don't know, but I know that he did not like any of those people.
Well, and that's interesting that you bring that up, because I mean, I guess if you're him and you're sitting and you're asking yourself in 71, if anything we did matter. And then flash forward to 2005, post so many things, pre so many things as well. Like, I guess if you're someone like Thompson, who, like you've mentioned, I mean, spends a lot of his time making observations about things that have happened, not things that are going to happen, I would probably feel a lot of ways the same way, beaten down.
A little bit like maybe they lost, maybe the things they were fighting for were gone.
And I think he may have been onto something. I mean, it's hard to say it out loud because you don't want to feel that way. But in a lot of ways, you see what Hunter S. Thompson is talking about in this book reflected in life today and the way things are handled today. And the way the conversation about drug culture in this country is among police hasn't really changed since 71, since Michael Jeter stands up there smoking his cigarette, being God, such an adorable little man.
I love Michael Jeter. He was great.
Such an adorable little man.
Hero, just in general.
Right? He was such an adorable little man. Just want to give him a little hug. He's just such a cute little guy, but he's so good. And again, it's that bullshit hypocrisy of them sitting there yucking it up. And it's still going on today. And it's like, maybe we did lose. And like, it's a hard pill to swallow. But if you're sitting there in 71 wondering about it, like, when 2005 rolls around, fuck me. Yeah.
And the things that he's making fun of are so accurate. You've got these people making these decisions, making these judgments about things that they don't know about, they don't care to know about. They've already made their decisions, and the whole, like the thing where he says, where they're saying that, you'll always know a druggie because they're constantly masturbating whenever they can't find a rape victim. Like,
right.
I mean, these are so ridiculous, and so we've got these places now where like these states that are holding on here at the very end, like we talked about, like Kansas here, it's holding on with, for dear life to not want to, legalize pot even for medicinal purposes. It's like, really? And I feel like it's still the same guys that were in that room sitting here going, no, we can't have that.
Right. I mean, I live in Nebraska, dude. Like it almost got onto the ballot, and then our local sheriff here, because in Lincoln, that's the state capital and the second biggest city, the sheriff sued the fucking state or somebody to take it off the ballot because it didn't do something per the oddly specific bullshit rules. So it got taken off the ballot. But they asked about gambling, and gambling was legalized. So fuck us. So now we have a racetrack outside of town that you can go gamble at. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry, how is that worse than weed? It's fucking insane. It's fucking insanity.
Well, and alcohol, same way. But it's something else we didn't mention that ties right in with that was that in 1970, Hunter S. Thompson ran for sheriff in Aspen, Colorado. So now imagine he's the sheriff and this comes out. How do you think he's going to vote?
Right. Yeah. Well,
right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, Hunter S. Thompson, I felt like outside of the writing, he tried to be a force for good as much as he could. But I mean, he had his demons, and there were many, a lot. And again, I don't know what eventually caused him to do what he did, but I mean, some of it had to have been the demons, and some of it had to have been seeing the world. Because again, 2005, I don't remember 2005 a whole lot. I was 15, so
I remember thinking it was pretty shitty. But then we go forward, and then another 11 years, and I think, wow, the world is really shitty. And then we move ahead, and it's just, well, what I'm saying.
Hunter S. Thompson would have. I don't know. Hunter S. Thompson
would have exploded if he'd have lived through the Trump administration,
or COVID, or God,
oh my God,
or the backlash to the Obama administration. Just everything. Yeah, it's maybe Hunter S. Thompson is lucky he checked out when he did.
Maybe he is, but
I don't know.
We're the worse off for not having him to comment on.
Agreed. Totally agreed. Because he was such a unique, singular voice. And he's missed. And the thing is, and I've never said this out loud, but I'll say it here. There were two people that sent me to journalism school. And you'll like this. One of them was Hunter S. Thompson because of this movie. And the other one was Irwin M. Fletcher.
Nice.
Yeah. And they couldn't be any different, but in a lot of ways, they're very much similar.
I had a dog named Irwin Maurice Fletcher, and that we called Fletch. And but this was just based on the movie, not the book series. I didn't know the book series then. And I was a journalism major, and I went into journalism because of All the President's Men.
Oh,
the Woodward Bernstein movie. And
two other
I thought I was going to go out and I was going to do these things, and I did not. But here we are. We're doing what we do.
Well, I didn't go and do drugs in Las Vegas and trip balls, unfortunately, though. I can't, that is the other thing. And I feel like I've said this twice now today, but I'll say it again. I would love to live in this movie. This is a movie I would like. I love the feeling that this movie gives me outside of the trippy shit. It's like the world and the time that it evokes is a very specific time and place. And it's not that a lot of movies don't do it, but not a lot of movies do it as well as this one.
I had a thought. We were talking about like the feelings in the movie, the trippy shit. And we talked about how Oliver Stone was one of the people that, almost wrote the script or was, circled around it or something. And, I feel like some of the trippy scenes are very similar to some of the trippy scenes in Natural Born Killers.
Oh, sure.
Of course, Natural Born Killers has like 80 different, feels going on. But, in some of those, like the ones with the Indian chief and or the shaman or whatever, there's like all these scenes with these very trippy, weird things. And that always sort of reminded me of that in a way.
To bring it all the way back to Platoon,
right?
Huh?
Oh, there we go. That's right.
There you go. So, I want to leave this episode. I want to leave you kind of before I ask you final thoughts, of Hunter S. Thompson, of his body of work and people like him. Is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, like, is it the singular piece of like this kind of literature? Is this it, for...
I would think it is. I would think it is. It's definitely the singular work for his career. And I've read several of his books, and none of them ever resonated in the way that did, for me. But I find him as a character, not in the movie, but in real life, to be at least, if not more interesting than his work. I feel like he's the star. And just like we talked about in this book, which the movie, the narrative comes from, I feel like he's the star. I feel like he's interesting. And the Gonzo journalism, I don't know. I can't think of anybody else that really reached that level in terms of quality. I mean, and star power. But
right.
I feel like he was the king of that, Doctor Gonzo, as we might.
I saw an interview that he was doing with someone, and they compared him to Norman Mailer.
Mailer's interesting.
I thought, and Gay Talese as well.
I don't know Talese's work that much, but I could see it with Mailer. The Executioner's Song.
And getting involved in their getting involved in the subject of their work,
becoming the story, a big part of the story. Absolutely.
Right. And I think to your point, and it's the thing that I think about when I think about this movie, and then I think about another Johnny Depp role later in his career. Johnny Depp becomes Hunter S. Thompson so seamlessly on screen that I forget that Johnny Depp has hair. Unlike when he played another balding man in Whitey Bulger, right, Black Mass, where he looked like an alien.
He did.
Right?
I was so excited about that movie. I love mob movies. And we didn't mention Donnie Brasco. He's fucking great at Donnie Brasco.
Never seen it.
Oh, you should watch that. Like it's got that same kind of Goodfellas kind of feel.
Oh, okay.
Light, Goodfellas light. But Black Mass,
I wanted to like it.
I wanted to like it, but I just didn't. And it was one of the first things I saw. I was really sick. And, I had a heart transplant and all this stuff. But there was a point where I'd come out of a coma. I couldn't walk. And I come home and I had a friend take me to the movies, and we sat and we watched Black Mass, and I thought, this is not going to help my road to recovery. Like it was
I got a heart transplant for this.
Right. I mean, take it back.
Yeah. Fucking Johnny Depp here. I actually like him in that movie. I think that movie is just okay.
But dude, you got to watch Donnie Brasco.
Yeah, I need to. Look, I'm a huge fan of Goodfellas, but I think, as much as I love Goodfellas, I think the best thing to come out of Goodfellas is that The Sopranos exists, because it's like Goodfellas, the TV show. Right. But anytime someone says Goodfellas light, it's like I have to see it. So I will watch it. Yeah, and it's also Johnny Depp. It's not
Pacino's really fucking good in that.
Yeah, also not a hard sell. So at all.
Well, no. I mean, he's not screaming all the time. I don't love that.
Or selling coffee drinks.
Away. Right.
I mean, if he were selling coffee drinks, I might be more interested. Ugh. I do agree with you, though, in terms of Hunter S. Thompson as both a character, Raoul Duke as a character, and then his career as a whole. I think he maybe at times felt like he was dodging the spotlight, and I don't want to be the guy in the spotlight. I want the story to be in the spotlight of my involvement, whatever, because he's always very prickly in interviews. But I think he enjoyed it in a lot of ways. But you're totally right. This is, as much as I love Campaign 72, I think that's fun in a way that this is kind of fun. I think that this just feels like a seminal piece of fiction. And then the movie, I know Terry Gilliam has said, I want it to either be the best movie or the most hated movie. And I don't think it's the best movie of all time, but it for me is a movie that I watch at least once a year And I genuinely read Fear and Loathing once every couple years.
It's divisive, and I think as a writer, that's what I always shoot for, is that I don't care if somebody loves my work or they hate it, as long as they remember it. You know? And I think this is a movie where people tend to fall one way or the other. They're like, oh, that fucking movie, or they go, oh yeah, that fucking movie.
Yeah. And no, I'm totally with you. I think for me, movies that make you feel a certain way are that should be the success. And this movie, it clearly makes a lot of people feel a certain way because it's considered a cult classic, but I think it's whatever the fuck that means. I think it is so much more than that. And I really do genuinely believe, like, Johnny Depp, when he's the in memoriam in the Oscars, it might be this or Jack Sparrow. I would wonder. It'll probably end up being Jack Sparrow, but like, it could be this. That's how.
If they don't forget to put his fucking name on the list.
No, they won't forget Johnny Depp. Well, they might. They might.
They do forget some people. That.
Yeah, that's fair. They forgot Anne Heche, to be fair. So. Yeah, but
hey, she's in Donnie Brasco also.
Damn. Okay. Jeez. No, I am so glad that you are also an author and could speak to some of the things about this, because that's, again, like,
and I'm weird.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, you can't watch this movie. There's some of this that if you watch this movie, you're not going to get it. Like, I don't even think there's some of the things in this movie, there's nothing to get. It's just It's weird. And there are some things that are weird, and I like them, but I don't know why the fuck I like them. I can't pinpoint it. There are some things that you just like or you don't like, and you feel or you don't feel. Right. And I think there's a lot of shit like that in this movie, because we talk about what's the point of this, what's the point of that. Some of it doesn't feel like there is any point. It's just there, and if it resonates, it resonates. Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. I mean, hey, what other movie has Lyle Lovett selling acid? Right. Right. It's not every day that you have that. Every time I watch this movie, goes, is that Lyle Lovett? And I have to go look at the credits. Like, yes, that is in fact Lyle Lovett. That's Mark Harmon. Why? Why is the one where I go? He shows up twice. Harmon. Yes, he does. I don't know how you feel about Mark Harmon. I kind of like him, but he's just so generic. Like, I'm like, why do you pick him? I mean, I don't know. He's cool. He's all right. I don't even like he's given like one line, and then the second time he shows up, the camera like lingers on him, and I'm like, was there more to him? Was there more like what did I don't. Did some of it hit the editing floor? I feel like some of it had to have, because there's really no point to his scene, or his two scenes, like none. Like, they don't even really have a conversation. He's just saying shit. Yeah, and just hanging out. At least in one of them. Yeah, and well, the other one he's just and he's talking. And then the other one, he's just on the phone, like in the background. It's so, again, like that might be the strangest cameo in the entire movie for me. Yeah, it's pretty fucking weird. And again, like, he wasn't like an unknown at the time, but he wasn't Mark Harmon of NCIS. So there you go. So on that note, Andy, give me your final thoughts on Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I think it's a fun, crazy movie. Show it to your girlfriend, see what she thinks. Maybe she won't leave you. I forgot to tell you this. All of the ex-wives, they left because of this movie. No, not really, but that would be interesting, right? Like, but no, it's a cool movie. I like it. I just like it. It captures a feeling. And I don't know if it's just a high feeling, but it does its own thing, and it does it unapologetically. I completely agree. I mean, like we've mentioned already, it is a divisive movie, but its divisiveness is not a negative. It is very much a positive. It is the movie. I mean, Terry Gilliam himself says it, like, it is the movie I wanted to make. I didn't have to make a lot of concessions to the studio. It is the movie I wanted to make. And if this is the movie he wanted to make, then I am totally on board. It kind of shocks me it took this long for me to cover this movie, given how much I like it. But I feel like the reason it took so long is similarly to a lot of other things. I was worried about it would just be a fucking love fest about the movie. And I mean, in a lot of ways it is. We didn't criticize it a whole lot, but at the same time, I mean, it's a really good movie. And if you've never seen it, you should totally watch it, because at this point, if you're still listening and you haven't, shame on you. Let me ask you this. If you're going to recommend this to somebody and you can only sum it up in like one or two sentences, what do you tell them? I would say it's a cross between a stoner comedy and it's two buddies on a really bad trip through Las Vegas, and give them the basic outline of what it is, and don't tell them that there's any sort of like anything else. Don't tell him that there's anything else to it, that he's going to do anything specific. Just say it's two guys in the 70s in Vegas on a bad trip, and just I mean, that's where it starts, and that's kind of where it ends. Right. And just, I like to imagine Hunter S. Thompson not blowing his own brains out, but driving out into the desert and just into the desert of eternity.
At least that didn't end the movie. That would not have been as fun.
Right. Well, yeah, right. Jesus Christ. So, God, yeah, right. Jesus Christ. So, I mean, that's the alternate ending of the movie.
You think the ending was unusual? That would have been
right.
That would have been really divisive.
I went back to Colorado and I blew my brains out. He just calls his own ending before it even happens. God in heaven. Oy, oy. So on that note, let's play a preview for the first episode of Mike White May.
Mně se taky ledacos nelíbilo v životě, ale musel jsem se postavit. A kolikrát často proti své vůli. To ze mě udělalo chlapa. Co chceš dělat? Odpověz. Co chceš dělat? Nemám ti za zlé, že nevíš. V tvém věku se to stává. Ale dokud nebudeš vědět, co máš dělat, budeš dělat to, co chci já.
Není to dávno, co má brada byla holá, když tu náhle přišel vous malý a zrzavý. Koupil jsem si holení a večer místo školení holil jsem se potají, tak jak to hoši dělají, když mě náhle prozradili boty vrzaví.
Na prstech bychom spočítali, kolik chlapců chce do kšeftu. Je takhle, každý chce být astronautem, kosmonautem, radiomechanikem a když nějakého kluka dostaneme, tak je to určitě nějaký kripl.
Já jsem ti řekl ahoj, jsem ti taky řekl ahoj. No jo, ale jak? Ahoj. Ty jsi mě řekl ahoj. Slyšíš ten rozdíl? Ahoj. Ahoj. Slyšíš to, jo? Ahoj. Ahoj. Slyšíš to, jo? Ahoy.
So that's right on the first episode of Mike White May. I'm going to be joined by the man himself and one of the other men themselves, Jess Byard, to talk about Milos Forman's Black Peter. Yes, I know nothing about it.
And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Amadeus.
Mike didn't pick either of those.
Right, of course he did.
Shocker, I know. You've known Mike longer than I have. None of this is surprising to you.
No, I've known him since the 90s. You know, I was going to say that kind of sounds like a porn title, Black Peter. I worked in a video store. We had a porn section. We got a lot of those.
Yeah. I've never seen it. Obviously, I haven't seen any Milos Forman movies, so I am very much looking forward to having my horizons broadened, as Quado might say, by some Mike White May. So until then, Andy or Andrew, where could people find your works on the internet if they were going to find them?
Amazon is always the go-to. A lot of my books are indie with little publishers. As I've just gone back to the bigger publishers, I'm remembering why I left the bigger publishers, because the deadlines suck. But all of the books are available on Amazon. Last name is Rausch. Some of them are Andrew, some of them are Andy. Why? Because I'm crazy.
But they're all you.
They're all me.
And that's all that matters.
It's all that matters.
And I picked up one of his books off of Audible. No, we're not sponsored by Audible, but you can find one of his books.
It's called American Trash.
American Trash. That's the one that I picked up, right?
And it's not an autobiography.
Right? Boy, that would be man. Hillbilly Elegy, the original version. Yeah.
But it is kind of a hillbilly thing. It takes place in Missouri, and it's about a white trash mafia. So.
Somewhere I spent a lot of time. I went to the University of Missouri for college for a couple of years. Yikes. Columbia, Missouri. I'm sure you've been there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Boy. Yeah.
The weed is legal in Missouri, so.
I know, right? It sure is, isn't it?
Right over the border.
I know, motherfuckers.
I promise, when I go into the dispensary, I'll be like, I promise I'm not taking this over the border. I'm just going to eat all of these gummies in the parking lot. I promise.
Sir, that's 2,000 milligrams. I don't care.
I'm good with it. I really like these.
Yeah. I need to be high when I drive. I can't do it otherwise.
Right.
As for me, you can find me at weirdingwaymedia.com, where I do this show and I do so many other shows. And hey, that's where you can find Mike White's Projection Booth. It's a cool show. You've been on that show before.
9 or 10 times, yeah.
That's how we met, was doing that little Indiana Jones side project that, I don't know, hopefully shows up in Mike's 12-hour Indiana Jones episode later in the year.
We spent some time on that one.
Fuck yeah. That in and of itself is like fucking 3 hours.
That's right.
Fuck. I mean, hey.
Well, this was fun, man. I'm glad you had me on.
I'm so glad that you joined me. Yeah, I definitely, maybe we'll, I don't know. You know what? Next time you come, you can pick whatever we talk about. How's that? Yeah. And on that note, we'll catch you on the next episode.